Hello, everyone. Some of you are able to make it in person. Some of you will be watching this recording. Today's session of Exploring Wellness is on natural pet care. And if you're one of those people arriving late, no problem. I will keep an eye on the waiting room and admit you, and you can always watch the recording to see what you missed. You can easily put questions into the chat if you don't want to unmute and interrupt the presentation. And there will be time after the presentation for Q&A as well. But I like to make it go organically, so I may stop and answer a question when we are on that topic. Or I may wait until the end if depending on what the question is. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to share my screen. Hello. All right. So today's topic is natural pet care, which is a huge topic to cover in an hour. So these are broad brushstrokes. If you ever at any point have questions after the fact, you are free to email me. My email is holler, HOLLER, at lilycunning.com. That's cunning with a K. You can see it right there. So that's holler, HOLLER, at lilycunning.com. So let's get started. We're not just going to talk about the stereotypical dog and cat pets. If you have specific questions about exotics, about birds, about reptiles or amphibians, please ask. Fish as well, because I have lots of experience with all kinds of animals. Before I was an herbalist, I ran an animal caregiving service in the San Francisco Bay Area, which specialized in parrots, but I took care of everyone, and all of my clients just covered the gamut of different kinds of animals. I have animals of my own. I've given chemotherapy and subcutaneous fluids and just so much care to animals and have studied their well being. And while my specialty is birds, specifically parrots and corvids, I have cats and dogs. I have had fish and reptiles and amphibians and cared for them and can answer questions about those kinds of animals as well. Feel free to email me after the fact or, put it in the chat, however you'd like to do that. So what we're going to cover today is, like I said, broad brushstrokes. We're going to talk about diet and nutrition because that is the foundation of health. It prevents a lot of illness and disease if your animal has proper diet and nutrition. Movement and activities, just like for human animals, for non-human animals, movement and activities are important. Including enrichment activities, and we'll get into what that means in a little bit. But I'm going to cover supplements and treatments as well, uh, especially the common ones, right? Like, obviously, if your animal has a very unique condition or a cancer, those things are areas of specialty that need one-on-one case management. But, from time to time you need flea and tick treatment or heartworm treatment or any number of things that are pretty common, and so we can talk about those. And then of course, detoxing your home. American homes are full of toxic chemicals that are bad for human beings, but for animals that live with us, especially those with smaller body mass, or birds who inhale twice for every exhale. They are very susceptible to airborne toxins. We want to talk about those things and eliminate them from the home, not just for your companion animals, but for your own well being. So, ideally, before you get any kind of animal, you're going to do some research, right? You're going to understand what kind of habitats they prefer, what kind of diet is biologically appropriate, how often they need vet care, and what are the signs that vet care is needed in addition to just wellness checks. What kind of husbandry and care are you going to be giving on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? What are their exercise needs? And where can you obtain high quality supplies? And if you already have animals and you haven't done this type of work yet, this research yet, no worries. It's never too late to start. There are some pretty phenomenal guides in the Dummies series. In fact, as someone who specializes in birds and whatnot, Birds for Dummies was written by one of the preeminent bird vets in the United States. And he was my vet when I lived in California, and I would travel an hour and a half to see him with my birds. But all the Dummies series have really well vetted, no pun intended, well vetted authors. So, Birds for Dummies is a husbandry guide, how to best take care of any kind of bird. Um, but then there are also behavior guides, which are a completely separate line of books. And there are animal behaviorists that you can consult with on different types of behavior, particularly ones that aren't as common, pets that aren't as common. You may not understand what you're seeing in terms of behavior, and it's always great to get some real explanations. Now, I will say, um, getting a well trained behaviorist is important. And anyone who is doing anything other than positive reinforcement when it comes to altering behaviors, I would avoid like the plague. Like, there are people on TV that emotionally flood animals in order to get them to submit to their will. And that's not what I mean by behavioral modification or training. There are ways to do it that draw you and the animal closer and don't make the animal fear you. That is not necessary, nor is it healthy. Um, but before you get the animal, looking at husbandry guides, looking at behavior guides, and I am more than happy to recommend some of these. For parrots in particular, so many people misunderstand parrot behavior because they are essentially wild animals living in our home with all of their instincts intact. And so Sally Blanchard and Barbara Heidenreich are two authors that I would recommend uh, at any time for animal behavior, parrot behavior in particular. Um, but yeah, so do the research. If you ever have any questions about is this a good source, ping me, holler at lilycunning.com, because again, I am more than happy to make the animals in your life happy and healthy and can answer any questions via email. So let's start with diet and nutrition, shall we? So, for every kind of animal that we're talking here today, you want a diet that is biologically appropriate. So, you want to look at what do the animals that are wild relatives of your companion eat in the wild, because that is going to tell you what you should be providing in your home. So, for example, a vegan diet is completely inappropriate and unethical for a cat. Cats are obligate carnivores, they need meat. And you would not want to give them a plant-based diet. Now, dogs are scavengers. They do need animal products, but they also eat vegetables and greens as a matter of course. It's actually really great to give them that. Um, but one thing that cats nor dogs eat evolutionarily is grain, right? And grain has been added to a lot of dog and cat foods as filler, right? It's cheaper, it fills them up, it makes more profit for the person that makes it, the company that makes those foods, but never have they eaten grain, right? Corn, rice, all of it. Now, can they eat some of it? Dogs can. Cats, not so much. But if your dog ends up getting like hot spots and skin problems, you might want to avoid grain because it tends to be the number one culprit of skin conditions in those dogs. So research what's biologically appropriate. There are different kinds of parrots, for example. Um, my parrots, who you'll see a picture of coming up in a bit, are black-headed caiques. They live in the Brazilian rainforest. They're canopy birds, so they eat a lot of fruit from the top of the canopy. Um, but they're also opportunistic carnivores. They'll eat bugs, for example, in the wild. So we do offer protein for them, not nearly as much as I would offer my dogs and cats, but they still get it. Um, so, just researching those things and lories and lorikeets, for example, are parrots, but they're nectar eaters. They eat nectar out of flowers. And so you need to provide a liquefied diet high in sugar. And they make like lori nectar substitutes for those animals. Um, but when you look at the food, like you want to read labels, just like with human food, you want to read the labels and make sure that the additives in there are natural additives, that there's no non-food in your dog or cat's food or any other animal that you're feeding. Toxic preservatives, stabilizers, byproducts are not great. Feed grade uh, food and not human grade food means that it was rejected for human consumption because it was kind of nasty. And so, as a sideline, it goes to pet trade foods. Honestly, I don't want to feed my animals things that weren't healthy enough. They were probably diseased uh, and damaged enough that you wouldn't give them to human beings. They're all problematic. So, learning about additives and preservatives and reading labels is super important. For a while, there was an additive in pet foods called ethoxyquin, and it was toxic to many animals, hepatotoxic. It hurt their liver. And because of activism around pet food, it was removed from a ton of these foods. Now, lower grade brands often have toxic preservatives, so you really do need to look and see. I will also say that a lot of foods that we assume are the healthiest for our animals aren't always. So, for example, kibble, kibble for dogs and cats. It is a human convenience food, right? It is basically crunchy meat cookies with a bunch of other stuff added to the meat, baked so that it's, shelf stable. Um, and, it causes excessive thirst because it's a dry food in both dogs and cats. Um, and many of animals love it, right? Like I know many cats, for example, become sort of uh, addicted, if you will, to kibble and then won't eat wet foods. But cats are supposed to get their water supply from their food and they occasionally drink supplemental water. But if you're feeding them kibble, they often don't get enough water. So, think about the type of food that you're feeding. Personally, for my cat, she gets wet food every day. I give her one big can of wet food every day, half in the morning, half at night. Um, and with cats, they absolutely need taurine as part of their diet. And so you want to make sure that the cat food that you're buying, if it's cooked like a can is, that it has added taurine. Um, and you want to make sure that, all the foods that you feed your animals are balanced. If you understand what the nutritional needs are for the animal that you're caring for, then you can start planning what is an ideal diet and looking for a base food with supplemental fruits or vegetables if that's appropriate. Um, you want to make sure that it's balanced. For my parrots, for example, I have what I call the dry mix, which is natural organic pellets um, mixed with dried fruits, nuts, some seed, and it's all mixed together. And they get like a scoop of it, like a little scoop, um, every other day or so, but the rest of their food is fresh food. They often eat what I eat, as long as you're eating healthy food. I do not feed them fast food. They do not get soda. There are obviously foods that are toxic to animals, like chocolate. Um, that they don't get, and anything of course with xylitol should be avoided. I just don't even bring it into my house on the condition that one of my dogs is just into everything, and she can be into something really quickly if you turn your back on her. So I'm just not going to bring xylitol into my house. And those tend to be for, diet or sugar-free kind of products. A lot of sodas that, talk about low sugar have xylitol or stevia. Stevia is fine, but xylitol is not. It could really harm or kill your animal. So, um, looking at what is toxic to your animal, and just removing it from the house and your life is appropriate. Now, movement and activities. You want to make the best life possible for your companion animal. And the two areas that I want to talk about in particular is the importance of play. Um, Basically, play for any animal is a wild behavior that is adapted for a human home. So for cats, cats are predators. They like to hunt, they like to catch things. So the little, dangly thing on a string and playing with them that way, getting them to run around, the little laser pointer that they can try and catch the little dot, those are great. There's also, you know, uh, different appropriate play toys for dogs. Dogs like to rip things up. So every couple weeks, I buy a new stuffed animal for my dogs, and they will completely destroy it. It will become a husk of itself. They'll take all the stuffing out, and of course, I'm sweeping all the time now. And then they'll carry around and like flip it around the little skin and rip that up. They really enjoy that behavior. Thinking about what kind of behavior it replaces is a little horrific if you're not a hunter, but that is what they do, right? Um, both of my dogs are rescue dogs that were in the wild, and they are opportunistic as heck. Um, so they will they hunted when they were on their own before they were in a human home. Um, and they were out on their own for a while. So, when my first dog, that's with me now, uh, found a warren of baby bunnies, it was awful, but I can't really fault him for it, right? I mean, he was doing his instinctual survival behaviors. Um, so the importance of play is really important. It gets them exercise, but it also uh, enables them to act out their wild behaviors, which is going to make them happier. For my parrots, for example, I do not clip their wings. They are fully flighted, and I have adapted how my home is so that it is safe for them. They have, you know, their cage on one side of the room, and then they have a play gym on the other side, and they fly back and forth. I've made sure all my house plants are safe because you never know when they're going to try and take a bite of them. Um, I ask them to fly to me. They love that. Um, we do all kinds of activities together, right? And I do play with them. One of my kayaks has a little metal wind up rooster that hops, it's a kid's toy, but she loves it. It is her foe that she likes to vanquish, and she will grab that thing when it's hopping off the table and like throw it across the room and like hoot and holler that she has won against the rooster. just finding the play that they want to do is important, and playing with them daily. uh, and replacing wild behaviors. So you see the cat in the box. Cats love boxes and bags because they like to be in a small little bundle. You can't see her, but my cat is literally in a basket to the left of my computer right now. She likes to sleep there when I'm on the computer, and she curls up into a little ball. She also jumps into any box that she can find, which is cute. And cats also love to be up high and observing the area around them. So I bought her a cat tower so she can be above where the dogs are. She likes one of the dogs, she doesn't like the other dog. So getting out of the fray when they're playing and wrestling with each other is key for my cat. um, where do they want to sleep? Some animals want to sleep in their own space. Some animals want to sleep with you because you are their pack, or you are their person, or you are their flock. Um, so my cat always sleeps with me. Our two dogs have crates and they sleep in those overnight, and they've got them nice and cozy, and we cover them, and that's where they sleep. They might want to sleep with my kiddo, but then my kiddo would never get any sleep because, as I said, both of my dogs are rescue dogs, and they often have little nightmares, and they flail around and whine. And we do our best to make sure that their life is one where they never have to worry about whatever circumstance they happen to be in that causes the nightmares now. But that doesn't mean that they don't remember, and that doesn't mean that they won't have nightmares. So we give them their own space. Enrichments are huge, especially for animals that have their instincts intact, like parrots. Um, One of the things that all animals enjoy is foraging, searching for food. It gives them a purpose, right? So there are foraging enrichments for almost every animal. Um, make it so that they work for some of their snacks, right? Or maybe don't give them all their food in a bowl. When I've had behavioral issues that I've been working on with parrots in the past for clients, particularly self-harm behaviors, because parrots are super smart, and when they're depressed they will pluck out their feathers, they often will rip open their flesh. They're sensitive creatures. So I recommend making all their food foraging food, wrapping up each individual nut in like a cupcake wrapper and putting it in the dish, and hiding it around the cage, and making it so that they have to do tricks for their food. It gives them a purpose, and it stimulates their mind. It is not humiliating. It is something that you would be doing to keep them engaged, right? So many people think birds just live in a cage, and that is not the case. My birds get out for hours every day. They interact with us, they have foraging enrichments, they get exercise. Our dogs are in and out of the house. We have a fenced in backyard. We have a fob to the dog park. We take them to the dog park once a week. And the cat, while she does not get outside, because I don't think it's safe for cats or wild birds to get outside unless you have built a catio. Um, she has the whole house to explore. I've created little nooks in every room for her. And I often will give her foraging enrichments. So when she gets to her little cubby in her cat tower, up there's a piece of chicken, you know. Um, it's it's just figuring out how to make your animals' daily life better. So you also want to give things to the animals that they can destroy, because most animals love to shred things up. I mentioned my dogs, with stuffed animals. Cats really like to um, have kicker toys where they're shredding it up with their back paws. They hold on to it with their front paws. It's like a long toy. They also love to throw around things. Um, and Parrots love to shred things up, just utterly destroy them. So, cardboard, wood, palm fronds, like all different kinds of toys made of materials that they can shred up. Definitely engage in social activities with your animals. They love routine. So, for example, my morning routine with our animals, because I've got to juggle a cat, two dogs, and some parrots. Um, so in the morning, the kitty is sleeping with me. So we get up. I go downstairs. I give her her first thing of cat food. She has it up high so that the dog that she doesn't like doesn't come sniff her while she's trying to eat and feeling vulnerable. I let the dogs out of their crates. They immediately go outside so that they can use the restroom, and then I prepare their food. Um, while they're outside, I turn on all the plant lights and the full spectrum light for my parrots. And then the dogs come in and they eat their meal. And then I put the cat away upstairs in a room enclosed, and I crate the dogs again. And then the birds get out. And the birds eat breakfast with us. They eat breakfast and dinner with us unless we have company. And they fly around and we play games after dinner. It's something that they come to expect. They love the routine. My parrots also shower with me because flock animals spend all of their time together. Leaving them alone is a recipe for depression, right? So if you only have one bird, you are their flock and you need to be with them all the time unless they're sleeping. Um, so I bathe with them. Bathing is a social flock activity. I have a perch in their shower so that they can sit there and wait their turn to get wet while I'm taking a shower. Um, and eating is a social flock activity too. So the dogs look forward to their outing to the dog park every week. They also play every day with us. We play tug, we play fetch. Um, and the cat looks forward to sleeping with me, getting brushed. She loves her brushing sessions every day or so. And habitat. So you just need to think about where your animals are going to be spending their time, and is it appropriate for their size and their movement needs. So, for example, with birds, you need to buy them the largest cage that you can afford that is appropriate bar width spacing for that animal. Um, the bigger the better. And they still need to get out, right? For cats, I have a cat tower for her in the living room. She's got a little bed in the dining room. She's got a bed in my office. She sleeps on my bed in my bedroom. And she just has the run of the house, you know. She eats actually in my laundry room. I put her on top of the washing machine to eat her food. Basically, I'm just thinking about all of her needs when I'm creating spaces for them. And I'm still looking to create more spaces. I want to get a window perch for the parrots in the dining room. I want to get a window shelf that's carpeted for the cat in another room. Like there's just so many things that you can add to your home. And I've also seen, I can't do it in this house, but there are all these little thing shelves, carpeted shelves or sisal shelves that you can add to a wall to create a climbing area for a cat. Um, like all of those things are excellent. So thinking about that as you are creating a fulfilling life for the animal that you have. Supplements and treatments. So, if you've got a furry friend, flea and tick care are essential. Um, and I'm not a big fan of the squirt on the scruff of the neck stuff. It is the most common, although I do have to say that parasitic insects are becoming more resistant to those treatments, but also they're neurotoxins. There are animals that I have cared for that will forever have seizures intermittently after getting that type of treatment. So my favorite is actually a product by Earth Animal called Daily Powder, right? And there's two different formulas. One that's a plant-based formula, one that's a yeast-based formula. I use the herbal plant-based formula for dogs. You can add it to their food. It's just a scoop every day. Super healthy for them to add to their food. And it does the same thing as the neurotoxin, but in a healthy way. And then the yeast based one is appropriate for cats. It will keep the fleas and ticks away from them. Um, Now, obviously, with my cat, she doesn't go outside. So she would only be exposed to fleas and ticks from the dogs. But it's still important to give her that supplement. Um, Nutrition, again, you need to do research on nutrition and figure out what's your best option. Hairball remedies are pretty easy. You can give your cat fish oil, which is a natural remedy rather than the petramalt, which is petroleum based. Why would you give your cat petroleum? Blech. um the kind of litter that you use. I know it seems like I'm getting picky here, but you should know that a lot of cat litter companies, they don't make their money off of selling cat litter. They make their money as a hazardous waste incinerator. They take hazardous waste and they bake clay in it and then sell it as a byproduct. I don't want that for my cat. um, I actually use a litter that's made from walnut hulls, and it clumps, so it's scoopable and clumpable. Um, and walnut hulls have the great side effect, if any gets ingested as they're bathing, of being a wormer, right? So if you have a cat that gets fleas, chances are they're going to get worms in their digestive tract. That just tends to happen. The walnut hulls are actually partial preventative for that. So I love that particular brand. It also is not smelly, not smelly at all. So as long as you're scooping the litter regularly. Anxiety relief. So one of my dogs is terrified of heavy rain, thunder, and lightning, and will just go ballistic if any of those things happen. Just inconsolable. And I've tried many things. I've tried a thunder shirt, which helps a little bit, and it helps other animals even more. It's a very tight fitting shirt that you Velcro onto them, and it's kind of like a hug. Um, that has helped a bit, not completely, but a bit. The thing that I have found that helps him with his anxiousness is Rescue Remedy, which is a flower essence, and you can get it with a spray. And I just lift up his gum flaps and spray in there so that he gets a dose, and it does calm him down. So I'm very grateful for that particular remedy. You're also going to need things that accommodate wild behavior. So with cats, do not declaw a cat. I don't know if you know this, but when you declaw a cat, you're not just removing their claws, you're removing an entire knuckle. You're basically amputating their feet. And often it contributes to a lifetime of pain. Most ethical vets refuse to do this operation now, but there are still some out there. So think about getting cat furniture, a scratching post, and if you find that your cat is scratching things that you don't want them to scratch, a piece of furniture, for example, very simple remedy is getting double-sided tape and just putting strips of it on the area that they're scratching, keeping that up there for a while, and they will choose something else because they don't like that stickiness. Super cheap, very easy, and doesn't require like interventionist things that make your cat scared of you, like squirting them. Getting them their own furniture, better toys, beds, toys, baskets, like I have here for my cat. Um, those are very important to make your animal feel at home. All of my animals have their own furniture, in addition to the furniture that the humans use. And of course, if you are taking your animals outside, they need collars and harnesses and leashes, and tags, right? So, most places have dog licenses, and that has the benefit of being able to um, have your dog return to you if they get loose. But microchipping is even better, right? Um, the harness is great for animals that pull too much and get choked by the collar, although I have one of those kinds of dogs, and we use a martingale collar, which gets smaller as they pull, and that seems to do just fine. I don't need to get a harness for her. Carriers and crates, every animal that you have needs to eventually, go to the vet, and get checked out or maybe move. So having carriers for all of them in readily accessible places. In case there's a fire, you're going to need to be able to get your animals into carriers right away. And my dogs use their crates for sleeping and hanging out. Like the doors are open to their crates all day long, and they use them. They go in and out of them to take naps and cuddle up, and yeah, it's in our living room so that they're with us. Dental care is going to be important, particularly if your animals are eating commercial pet food, particularly kibble. Kibble is the number one reason why cats and dogs get tartar deposits and need dental care. Um, Having some raw food or raw meaty bones will help enzymatically to get rid of some of that. You can also buy specific dental treats, but even with that, your animal may end up needing dental care. And so, making sure that they get regular wellness checkups that include their teeth is really important. And if your dog has bad breath, or your cat, or any animal really, um, it's either something going on in their mouth or something going on in their gut. So, thinking about how you would remedy that, and figure out which one is which and how to fix it. It's an indicator that something is wrong. And then, of course, grooming. So, brushes for cats and dogs, furry animals. I love my Furminator. I'm not getting paid to say that, but I will tell you it helps with undercoats and getting rid of dead hair. And, I just have a regular old domestic short hair rescue cat, but it gets a bunch, even though I only brush her every other day. Like, man, it really helps. So I love that brush. There are other brushes as well, and nail clippers. I have a pair of nail clippers because I trim my dog's nails. I use regular human nail clippers on my parrots. They are strong enough and big enough to handle their talons. But getting the animals used to regular grooming and handling is doing them a favor, because if for some reason you're gone and they need care by someone else, training them to know how to expect handling and grooming is super important. I've made sure that my parrots are both hand trained, I say step up and they do, and stick trained, because somebody may be afraid of my parrots, and stepping them up with a stick is something that I have taught them as well. Um, with my dogs, they will hold up their paw for me and I'll hold on to it and I'll trim their nails, and they always get a treat afterwards. Um, so, training your animals to expect grooming and vet care is good. And I have to say, like, all my animals have been awesome at the vet. It's been one of the sources of training after sit, stay, and leave it. uh, Handling grooming and vet care is like the fourth biggest thing in terms of training. Let's talk about making your home safer for companion animals, but also you. So that's Tengu and Tallulah on the left. Those are my parrots. And, bird proofing my house was a learning experience, right? When I first got birds, oh, so many years ago, um, I didn't know what would make a safe home, but I do know there are certain rooms that I don't want them in. I don't want them in the kitchen. because there could be hot things or toxic things to them there. So I curtain off the kitchen so that they just can't fly in there. That was the first thing I ever did. Um, they like to climb curtains, right, on windows and get to the top of the curtain rod. So I made sure that, everything around there was safe. Um, I make sure that there's no peeling paint near their areas. I make sure that the house plants are safe. Mirrors and windows. My birds know about windows, but little birds, when you first bring them home, don't understand that that's not another room. Uh, and often they'll fly into it and hurt themselves. If you find that that is happening, you can put some post it notes on the window, spread out for a while to get them used to the fact that it is a solid surface. They're very smart, they will learn. But mirrors also, they can fly into mirrors. So thinking about that and designing what you put in rooms and how you put them is super important. The other thing to know about the kitchen is that certain kinds of cookware and appliances are not safe for them and not safe for you. Teflon and nonstick coating, PFAS. There's lots of different names for it, but it is a cancer causing, endocrine disrupting chemical coating your food, and uh, it is a long term toxin. It is a short term toxin for birds. If you have any birds, please do get rid of any cookware that has nonstick, as well as appliances like rice cookers, waffle irons, etc. You can get alternatives. They may be a little bit more expensive, but they are healthier for you. You're lessening your chance at getting cancer or an autoimmune disease. Um, with nonstick, the if it gets heated, it off gases, and it has killed birds in the home the same day that that happened. Birds inhale twice for every exhale. They first inhale and it goes into their lungs. Their second inhale, that air goes to their air sacs throughout their body, which is attached to their bones to help them fly. And then they exhale. And that is why they took canaries into coal mines, because when there was a toxic gas leak, the birds would die and it would give everybody a chance to get out of the coal mine alive, except for the canary. So please, for your own health and well-being, get rid of those kinds of appliances. It affects other animals too, but birds, it's like instantaneous. Fragrances, artificial fragrances that you use, like Febreze or candles or plugins, they are all toxic. And in fact, they're not making your air cleaner. They are, number one, disguising smells, and number two, deadening the nerve endings in your nose so that you don't smell them as much. They are not good for you and should not be used. Now, essential oils are plant extracts, but I will say diffusing essential oils in a home that has a cat or birds or exotics is not safe. It's okay for dogs, but you have to remember the essential oils are being dispersed into the air and then they fall. Cats don't have enzymes to digest plants, right? They're obligate carnivores. So when they bathe themselves, they're getting that essential oil off of their fur, and it's not good for them. I remember when I adopted my little kitty, she was a foster in a home that just reeked of synthetic fragrance. They had candles and plugins and la la la. And it took a good month and a half of bathing in a fragrance free place for her not to stink like that. Um, Yuck. So please think about other ways of making your home smell nice. Number one is removing anything that smells bad. Like that's the top priority. But number two, maybe simmering some spices on the stovetop or baking. Then you get the side effect of having something delicious to eat. Um, but having lots of house plants to clean the air, those are natural ways to make your home smell nice. And cleaning supplies. You need to know what's on the no no list, not just for cleaning areas that involve your animals. So, for example, if a dog, pees somewhere and you need to clean it up, like what is a good cleaner for that? Enzymatically is how I go about that. But birds also, they use their beak as another foot, and so they're going to ingest anything that you clean their cage with. It needs to be safe. But a lot of these things are awful. They off gas, they are toxic to us and toxic to your animals. And if you spend some time making sure that you don't have these chemicals in your home and that you're using natural cleaners, you're going to be healthier and your animals are going to be healthier. So say a big thank you to your animals for starting and engaging in this process because they will make you healthier. So here are some resources that I love for getting things. So Earth Animal, I mentioned them for the daily powder for flea and ticks. They have, again, an herb-based one that you can add to things or a yeast-based one. I would recommend the yeast-based one for a cat. Amber Naturals has a lot of remedies specifically designed for animals. Their Parvade is the best for puppies with parvo. It has a higher success rate than conventional vet treatment. I believe it's 85 to 95% success rate because parvo is deadly. They also have other remedies that are fantastic. So Amber Naturals is one. Pet Supplies Plus, they are a chain here in the Midwest. I don't know if they have, um, you know, chains where you are, but there's always going to be one higher end pet store that has more natural food and supplements, and you should find out where that is in your area. That's a local brick and mortar for me and where I live in Ohio. OnlyNaturalPet.com, NaturalPetWarehouse.com, Mickey'sPetSupplies.com. All of these have natural foods and supplements and toys. Big Apple Herp in New York is great for reptiles and amphibians. The Bird Safe Store is great for parrots. And abvp.com is where you can find a board certified vet for the kind of animal you have. If you have a specialty animal, a reptile, an exotic, a parrot, getting an ABVP diploma near you is like winning the lottery. Um, when vets graduate, they're generalists. If they want to spend time becoming a specialty vet and handling, let's say, birds or reptiles, they need to spend an extra 7 years with a mentor and take an exam. It gives them the kind of speciality that they need. I am very grateful for that website. You can find a diploma in multiple areas of expertise, including equine, and farm animals through abvp.com. So, if you are interested in reaching out to me, there are two ways to do it at lilycunning.com. And again, that address, that email address is holler@lilycunning.com. And the store, the apothecary that I make remedies and tonics and body care for, is havenherbs.com. We make a whole over 100 SKUs of remedies, tonics, and body care for humans. And there are some in there that are also useful for animals. I make a wormer called Early Bird, and I also make a Lyme protocol that can be used on dogs as well as human beings. So I'm going to stop my share. There we go. Um, I do hope that you have learned what you came here to learn. I will be sending out the recording very soon. I don't see any questions in the chat. Um, but again, if you come up with any questions, even if it's like 2 days later, holler@lilycunning.com is the way to get a hold of me, and I am more than happy to answer your questions. I hope you have a great Sunday and give your animals a hug for me. Bye bye.